Hi, I'm Alison Levine, and I speak on the topic of leading teams in extreme environments. So my background is that I was the team captain for the first American women's Everest expedition, and I've completed the Adventure Grand Slam, which is climbing the 7 summits, the highest peak on each continent, and skiing to both the North and the South Pole. So I've spent months in these extreme, harsh environments and know what it takes to lead teams to perform well when there's a lot of risk, there's a lot of change, and even when lives are on the line. And I'm currently on the part-time faculty at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. I'm on the board of the Coach Case Center on Leadership and Ethics at Duke University, and I work with a group called the Thayer Leader Development Group at West Point, which is an executive education program that shares West Point leadership best practices with corporate executives. The coolest thing I've seen at a conference lately, which was actually last week, believe it or not, was PNC Financial held a conference at the Cloister at Sea Island, Georgia, and they literally transformed a section of the hotel to look like Mount Everest. The floor was white, so it looked like you were walking on snow. As you walked down the hall into the meeting room, it looked like rock and ice, and then the whole meeting room was decorated with maps of Mount Everest and old binoculars and gear and ropes and crates and duffel bags, and you really felt like you were on the mountain. And apparently it took them 3 weeks. They sourced all of the props and all the stuff they used for the set design on eBay and collected all of it. And I've never seen anything, I've never witnessed a company go all out the way PNC Financial did. I mean, you really felt like you're on Everest. When you walked into the meeting room, they had audio visual effects, so you heard the wind and you saw projections of mountains along the walls with the clouds moving. I mean, it was over the top in a good way. I think when you really work hard to create a unique, special environment visually, it helps people, first of all, get in the mood. Also, they realize that you care about the meeting and that you're putting so much effort into it. And usually when you have a meeting, you're asking people to be away from home for a few extra days. They already work so hard during the week, and now maybe they've got to be away from family or they're working over the weekend. And when you take the time to put that kind of effort into a meeting, the employees know that you care and that you're trying to make it enjoyable for them rather than just having them in some kind of nondescript ballroom in a hotel with no production effort and no staging. And it really helps them get into the mood and feel like it helps bring everybody together and makes them feel like they are part of the program and what's going on. So I think when you choose a speaker, you definitely want to work with somebody that's going to be able to accommodate the unique needs of your meeting. And it sounds really obvious, but there are speakers that are going to come in and say the same thing no matter what. And you want to make sure that you have a speaker that's going to deliver the type of messaging that you want delivered, that's going to speak to the themes that are important to you and to your organization, and it also has a good support team to back them up, because busy speakers are on planes all the time and they're not going to be able to take your phone calls during the day. So for example, I work with Kepler Speakers and they've got a huge client services team, and there's always somebody there to take your call and answer your questions, because I am tough to reach because I'm on planes all the time. So I think if you've got all of those things put together, you're pretty much guaranteed a successful speaker experience. And for me personally, what I try to keep in mind is that time is our most valuable resource. And if an audience is giving me an hour of their time, I know that I better deliver something in that hour that's going to make every person feel like they were glad that they were in that room. I think that should be every speaker's goal in general, and every meeting planner's goal, is to have everyone walk away feeling like there's nowhere else they would have rather been for that hour than listening to that speaker. I think for meeting planners, one of the challenges is that there are so many aspects of the meeting that they can't control that they are still responsible for. And one of the most important things you can do is to empower people on your team to think and act like leaders. And that way, if the designated leader isn't around or isn't there to make a decision, people know they can act on their own. And when you're in these extreme environments on the mountains or skiing to the North or South Pole or something like that, if something happens to the designated leader, the rest of the team needs to be able to step up and continue with the mission. And so it's important to empower people to think and act like leaders from day one, whether they've worked for your organization for 10 years, 6 months, 6 days, it doesn't matter. Everybody needs to realize that they are responsible for helping to move forward with the mission. My dream speaker, okay, Sergeant Matt Eversman, who was portrayed by Josh Hartnett in the movie Black Hawk Down during the Battle of Mogadishu. So I love military speakers, and I mean, the guy is pretty much a hero and was an unbelievable sergeant in the Army, but now he shares those lessons from the Battle of Mogadishu and what he learned during Black Hawk Down with corporate audiences. And to me, it's a great story about the determination to make sure that you get all the members of your team back alive and back safely.